Even after the center begins to dissolve, another force quietly remains active within the structure of experience. It is not always obvious at first, because it does not appear as a fixed identity or a clear location. It appears more like a background influence, subtle, persistent, shaping how the present moment is felt. This influence is the past. Not the past as it actually happened, but the past as it is carried within the mind. Memories do not remain as neutral records of events. They carry impressions, interpretations, emotional residues. Each experience leaves a trace, and over time these traces accumulate. They begin to form a kind of psychological weight that moves with you from moment to moment. This weight is rarely noticed directly. Instead, it expresses itself through reaction. A situation appears and the response seems immediate. A feeling arises, and it feels appropriate to what is happening. A thought forms, and it seems like a natural conclusion. But when attention begins to observe carefully, something deeper becomes visible. The response is not only shaped by what is happening now, it is shaped by what has been. The past is not behind you. It is active in the present. A word spoken by someone may trigger a reaction that carries echoes of many previous experiences. A tone of voice may awaken a memory that is not consciously recalled, but still influences how the moment is perceived. A simple situation may feel heavy, not because of what it is, but because of everything it reminds the mind of. In this way, the past begins to filter the present. Experience is no longer seen freshly. It is interpreted through layers of memory. These layers can be subtle. They may appear as preference, as hesitation, as attraction, as resistance. Each reaction feels immediate, yet it carries within it the accumulated weight of previous experience. Over time, this creates a sense that life itself is heavy. Not always in an obvious way, but as a quiet pressure behind perception. The mind may feel burdened without clearly knowing why. Situations may feel more significant than they are. Reactions may feel stronger than expected. But what is being felt is not only the present moment. It is the past moving through it. When attention begins to see this, something important becomes clear. The present is rarely experienced on its own. It is continuously shaped by what has already happened. And within that shaping, the mind begins to carry something that was never meant to be carried. As the presence of the past in the present moment becomes more visible, another layer begins to reveal itself. One that is not only mental, but physical. The past is not stored only as memory. It is also carried in the body. Experiences that were intense, confusing, or emotionally charged often leave behind more than just a mental image. They leave behind sensations, patterns of tension, contraction, unease that may remain long after the event itself is past. These sensations are rarely recognized as remnants of the past. They feel immediate. They feel current. But when attention becomes sensitive enough, it begins to notice that certain reactions arise without a clear cause in the present moment. A feeling of tightness may appear in the chest during a simple conversation. A sense of anxiety may arise in a situation that is not objectively threatening. A subtle discomfort may be present without any obvious reason. The mind often tries to explain these reactions. It searches for causes in the current situation. It constructs narratives to justify the feeling. But the origin may not be here. It may be carried from before. The body remembers in a different way than the mind. It does not tell stories. It holds patterns. When an experience is not fully processed at the time it occurs, the body may retain the unresolved energy of that moment. That energy does not remain static. It continues to influence perception and reaction. A situation in the present may resemble something from the past, not necessarily in a clear or conscious way, but through tone, atmosphere, or subtle similarity. The body responds first. Tension appears. Sensation shifts. Only afterward does thought begin to interpret what is happening. In this sequence, the reaction feels immediate. But it is not entirely new. It is the past expressing itself again. What makes this difficult to see is how naturally it unfolds. The mind assumes that the reaction belongs to the present situation. It rarely questions whether the intensity of the response is connected to something that has been carried forward. Yet when attention begins to include the body in observation, the pattern becomes clearer. The same types of tension appear in similar situations. The same emotional tones repeat. The same reactions arise with familiar intensity. This repetition reveals that something is being held, not consciously, but physically, emotionally, as part of the accumulated weight of experience. And as long as these patterns remain unobserved, they continue to shape perception from beneath the surface. The present moment becomes colored not only by memory, but by the unresolved energy the body continues to carry. In this way, the past is not only remembered, it is felt again and again within what appears to be the present. As the weight of the past begins to reveal itself, both in memory and in the body, another movement becomes visible within the mind. There is an ongoing attempt to resolve what has already happened. This attempt appears as thinking. The mind returns to past events again and again, trying to understand them, reinterpret them, or bring them to some form of closure. It replays conversations, revisits decisions, reconstructs moments, imagining how things could have been different. At first, this process seems useful. It feels like reflection. It feels like learning. It feels like an effort to bring clarity. But when observed carefully, something unexpected begins to emerge. The thinking does not end the past. It continues it. Each time the mind returns to a memory, the experience is reactivated. The same emotional tone may arise again. The same reactions may reappear. The body may respond as if the event is happening once more. In this way, the past is not only remembered, it is relived. The mind believes it is resolving something, but what it is actually doing is re-engaging with the same patterns that were never fully understood in the first place. This creates a subtle loop. A memory appears,
thought tries to explain it. The explanation brings more attention to the memory. The memory strengthens, and the cycle continues. Over time, certain events become central within this loop. The mind returns to them repeatedly, believing that one more insight, one more interpretation, one more conclusion will finally bring peace. But the peace does not come, because the process itself is what keeps the past active. Thought approaches the past using the same structure that created the initial interpretation. It analyzes, compares, judges, and concludes. But these movements are part of the same pattern that shaped the experience originally. So instead of dissolving the past, thought reorganizes it. It creates new layers, new meanings, new narratives. Yet the underlying weight remains. When attention sees this clearly, a different question begins to appear. Can the past ever be resolved through thinking? Or does thinking, by its very nature, keep the past alive? This question is not theoretical. It points directly to what is happening in real time. Each time a memory is revisited, attention can observe what follows. The thought appears. The emotion may follow. The body may respond. The entire pattern reactivates. And in that observation, something becomes undeniable. The mind is not stepping out of the past. It is moving within it, again and again. And as long as this movement continues unconsciously, the weight of the past remains present, not because the past itself still exists, but because it is being continuously recreated through thought.
As the mind begins to see that thinking cannot truly resolve the past, a different kind of observation becomes possible. Instead of returning to memory in order to analyze it, interpret it, or change it, attention may simply remain with what is actually present when the past appears. A memory arises. Instead of following the story, attention notices what is happening now. There may be an image. There may be a sensation in the body. There may be an emotional tone. All of these are present in this moment. For the first time, the past is not approached as something to fix. It is seen as something appearing. This shift is subtle, but it changes everything. The mind is no longer trying to escape the discomfort, nor is it trying to reshape the narrative. It is simply observing the movement as it unfolds. A memory appears. A sensation arises. An emotion is felt. And instead of immediately reacting, explaining, or resisting, attention remains with the experience itself. Without interference, without conclusion, without direction. At first the mind may feel uncomfortable in this space. It is used to doing something with what appears. It wants to label, solve, or move away. But when attention does not follow those impulses, something new begins to happen. The experience starts to unfold on its own. The sensation in the body may intensify for a moment. The emotion may become clearer.
The memory may lose some of its narrative detail and become more like a feeling than a story. And then, gradually, something begins to shift. Not because the mind has changed it, but because the movement is no longer being sustained. When thought does not continuously revisit and reinforce the memory, the energy behind it begins to move differently. The pattern that once felt fixed begins to loosen. The body may release tension that has been held for a long time. The emotional charge may begin to dissolve. The memory remains as information, but it no longer carries the same weight. This is not a process of forcing the past to disappear. It is a process of allowing what has been held to complete itself, without interference, without repetition, without resistance. For the first time, the past is not being carried forward through thought. It is being seen as it appears and allowed to move as it naturally does. And in that allowing, something unexpected begins to emerge. The weight begins to lift, not because the past has been solved, but because it is no longer being continuously recreated.